live now, DT. DT and Mike Sofka, of course, myself, Dan Tortora, Mr. Mike Sofka, speaking with you on Dak Prescott's extension as well as franchise tags and more inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. You could go there to watch all of the games throughout the tournament and more at the Wildcat. You could also watch baseball, basketball, hockey, and everything you love at the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And as we get set to 75% capacity, make sure that you're definitely heading out to the Wildcat. And for curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery, you can call them at 315-487-2222. With that being said, let's bring the man into the Cafe Kubal studios. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Dan?
Doing well. And Mike, at perfect time that we're talking, I was going to say something, and I didn't. Because I said, and you could go back and check the tape, I said, I'm saving this for Mike. Dak Prescott finally gets his contract. The man is making the equivalent of $40 million a year. $160 million over 4 years, $40 million a year. Thoughts on that fact? Let's let's go to the big topic first. Dak Prescott, we've been talking about it for over a year, and Jerry Jones finally makes the decision to sell one of his yachts or his prized ponies or, I don't know, one of the mink coats that he owns, and he was able to pay off Dak Prescott. Thoughts on the fact that Dak is staying in Dallas and the fact that he finally made some cheddar from Mr. Jones?
Yeah, well, it's something that had to be done, but, I didn't understand, and, Jerry Jones' position in this the past couple of years when they were, had an opportunity to extend him, and I find it difficult to believe that they didn't find value in him, and I think they ended up paying a little more in the long run. I mean, he's got an average annual salary. I think it's $42 million, something like that. It's basically $40 million, like you said, but I think it goes down as a lot of it goes down as a signing bonus, $66 million of it, which would be the highest in NFL history if that was the case. But here's what I'm getting at: the formula, we've seen it time and time again. Outside of last year's Buccaneers, because Tom Brady took a discount at the quarterback position. Let's just be honest. He, all through his tenure with the Patriots, he could have made a lot more money, but he followed the Michael Jordan roadmap where he knew that some of those monies needed to be spent on players around him to make him that money. He would make that money elsewhere. So the formula is you get a team, a decent offensive line, you get some hotshot wide receivers, you get a solid running game, you got a mediocre to above average defense, and you have a quarterback on the rookie contract. And usually when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract and he's your starter, he's usually a pretty good quarterback because at one time you weren't very good, a la what the Jaguars have lined up right now. They're okay on the offensive line. They found a running game last year. They got some outstanding wide receivers. They got some good pieces on the defense. Now they're going to add that quarterback. So watch Jacksonville under Trevor Lawrence's quarterback rookie contract. Watch them get catapulted to Super Bowl status in the next couple of years just because they're following that formula. It's going to be much harder, especially in the upcoming years, to keep talented pieces around Dak. And again, the ins and outs of the, who said, she said, well, whatever in the past is the past as far as if they could have paid less for Dak. I really think they could have paid less for Dak, but who am I to argue? Jerry Jones is obviously a highly successful billionaire, and he's been doing well with the Cowboys, even though I don't agree with everything. I'm not going to disagree with the man for his position on this. It was amazing to me that this could reset the market. You got other guys coming up, like Lamar Jackson's going to be coming up. I mean, where does he stand next to Dak? So it depends on the pieces around you. Obviously, Dallas feels like it's a win-now situation for them, so they're willing to pay that money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we look at what this contract has, and, I'll never forget what's on Mike and Mike, what was said a while back and what I heard from them. I remember listening to the show because I was on ESPN radio in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It was 6:30 a.m., 12:40 a.m., and 96.1 FM. It was my first on ESPN after my time at Marywood University. And I'll never, ever forget that Mike Golick said, people hear about these contracts and they think, oh my God, that's so much money. But they don't realize it's not guaranteed money. And that $100 million contract sometimes isn't $100 million. Sometimes it's 56. Sometimes it's 40. Now, granted, it's more than some people see in 3 lifetimes, but it's not what you think it is. Well, let me tell you about Dak's contract going off of what I'll never forget Mike Golick say. Dak's contract is massive. Dak's contract is insane. This is what it is. It's 4-year, $160 million, but it has a maximum value of $164 million, including $126 million in guaranteed money. I remember the Albert Hainsworth contract where he signed for $100 million, but it wasn't $100 million. This one is over $100 million, and the guaranteed that Dak will get paid $126 million. He's guaranteed that, which is over $30 million broken down over the next 4 years. Now, there's 2 key things that are in it as well. There's a no-trade clause, and there's a no-tag provision, which I love. The fact that Dak got this done, I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know when they came back to the table, that he was able to bring forward. But Jerry obviously felt like he was in a bad place. And Dak got him to fold. Because getting 160, which could be 164, is huge. Getting $126 million in guaranteed money, massive. A no-trade clause, awesome. But a no-tag provision is a slap back at Dallas going, you're not tagging me again. I'm not going through this twice. Shame on you. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. I'm not doing it a second time. So this contract, in all ways, looks great. The amount of money that he's getting, the amount of money he's getting guaranteed, no trade clause, no tag provision, I love it. Remember, Prescott is 27 years old. 27 years old. And he's about to make an average of $40 million a year, which is insane money. The average is $42 million a year over the first 3 seasons, with $75 million in the first season and a $66 million signing bonus. This man could buy a country in a couple days. So shout out to Dak Prescott for getting his money. I don't think he's the second best quarterback in the nation yet, and I will stick by that. Obviously, Tom Brady is the best. Pat Mahomes is right there. I put Aaron Rodgers up there. So, and over his career, I put Drew Brees up there. I don't think Dak is there yet. The money suggests that he is, but I want to see him prove it. And there was something that, came up, Mike, that I want to mention here. And this is no knock on Dak. Listen, I want to let people know. I'm happy Dak got his money. I appreciate that he got his money. Don't take this as me not being happy that he got his money. This is just me making a suggestion or a thought. This is just me opening up a thought, okay? And the thought is this mention of a tweet on Twitter. And I just want to share it because it made me stop and think, and it should make you stop and think. And that mention on Twitter is the notion of the fact that, people look at the success of Tom Brady and they say, how? So there's an NFL meme that's up there that says, Tom Brady takes pay cut every year so his team can build around him. Every other quarterback signs a massive contract. Tom Brady keeps winning Super Bowls. Every other quarterback, oh my God, how does he do it? So this is another thing that comes up. I'm extremely happy that Dak got his money, but let's remember, Mike, Tom Brady has never been the highest paid quarterback, though he is the greatest of all time. He is not the highest paid today, yesterday, or probably tomorrow. Yet he consistently wins. In any sport, except for maybe baseball where there's no cap on anything, in any sport, your top contract has to at some point be giving. At some point they need to understand because you want to put as many great people on a team as you can. Tom Brady doesn't get paid a ton of money like these other. I mean, he gets paid a ton of money, but he doesn't get paid what these other guys get paid, and they can build around him. So what are your thoughts on that? We talk about these massive deals, the Patty Mahomes $50 million a year, Dak $40 million a year, and then Tom Brady keeps winning Super Bowls. What are your thoughts on that dynamic and that angle of it? That, quarterbacks are signing big deals. Tom Brady's never one of them, and he now has 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, it's like I mentioned before with the Michael Jordan formula. Jordan was the first one that I knew of considered to be the best ball player at what he does. And he wasn't the highest paid ever. So again, he put the value in helping the team build around him, knowing that there's much more, if not even more money because of that value around him through endorsement deals and other off the field opportunities. So, I take a look at the Dak thing. I think Dak's good enough. I think Dak's good enough with the tools, with the pieces they have around him. I think CeeDee Lamb is a steal. He showed that this past year when Dak's in the game. I think it makes Zeke a better player as well. The problem I have with Dak is I could list anywhere from 5 to 10 other quarterbacks that could do as well, equally well, or better than Dak, in the league. And you can't, I don't think you're deservingly so of being one of the highest paid quarterbacks if I can name somewhere between 5 and 10 quarterbacks that I might rather have instead of him, all things being equal. I'm talking to Patrick Mahomes. I'm talking Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, maybe a Tom Brady. Now, all these guys are not equal in the fact that a lot of them are aged veterans. Well, it is what it is. It depends on what you're shopping for. Are you looking for dinner tonight, or are you shopping for dinner for the week? Obviously, Dallas has figured out that they're going to hang on to him and they're going to shop for the week. Team like Tampa was shopping for today and maybe tomorrow, and what they did with Tom Brady and what they were able to do. So it kind of depends on what you're shopping for. And, I'm happy he got the money as well. I think you should get every dollar what you're worth. Hearing people say, oh, it's not worth it. These people obviously don't know the kind of money that these NFL teams have, the NFL teams are making, and that the NFL owners had before they even got a team. So, these owners, they didn't get to their position in life by making bad business decisions. We can look at it off the field and not know all the ins and outs. These guys are making money hand over fist, and I'm happy some of the players are able to partake in that.
Yeah, and seeing this, and seeing what's going on, with these moves. I mean, I think it's great. I think Dak needed to stay in Dallas. I think he's a competitor. I love his story. I love that he texts his mom, who passed away. May she rest in peace in heaven. I love that he sends her a text message, before every game. I wanted him to get his money. All I said was I don't think he's like the second best payment-wise. But if you can get it, go get it, brother. You know what I mean? Because I'm happy for you. And I hope that Dallas can build around you, and I hope that they can make it work, and I hope that they can figure it out. But I'm happy that he got his money. I love Dak. I love his story, and I hope he does bring something to Dallas. I do want to speak about the franchise tags, which is the other side of the conversation. Mike and I will do that in our abridged fantasy football power hour today as we get set for ACC tournament play and NCAA tournament looming in the background. Mike and I will be back with franchise tags. We'll tell you what they are if you don't understand it, because you hear the word franchise tag and you think that it's just a franchise tag. Well, in actuality, there's a couple different types of franchise tags. There's the exclusive, the non-exclusive, as well as the transition tag. So we'll talk about all of those right after this, and we'll talk about who's already been tagged for this upcoming 2021-2022 season right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Mike and I will be back inside of the Cafe Kubal studios to continue the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on Facebook Live on facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. We are inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour here with you, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We appreciate them so very much, and you can go dine in Monday through Sunday at their location, as well as curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery you can get by calling 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. Big appreciation to them. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios as well, with 5 locations in Central and Upstate New York. Make sure to support local. And Mike is here with me to talk about today franchise tags in this edition of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, as well as Dak Prescott's contract. To give you some background on the franchise tag, for those who don't know, franchise tags are essentially a one-year contract offer that come in 2 forms, exclusive and non-exclusive. An exclusive tag restricts negotiating rights to the tagging team of the player that's tagged. So if you exclusively tag somebody, you do a franchise exclusive tag, then you have them for a year, you can shop them, but only the tagging team can shop them. The player cannot shop themselves. Pays out an average of the top 5 salaries at the player's position in the current year, or 120% of the player's previous year's salary, whichever is greater, which sounds insane. So essentially, when a team can't figure out a long-term contract for a player, or they're not willing to let them go yet, they end up spending more money at the front end when they can't figure things out. So it actually hurts the team in the immediate kind of timing, helps out the player money-wise, but not longevity. A non-exclusive tag, which is more common, pays out an average of the top 5 tag amounts at the player's position from the previous 5 years applied to the current cap, or it's 120% of the player's previous year's salary, whichever is greater. Players who receive the non-exclusive tag can negotiate with other teams, but the tagging team has the right to match the offer and would also receive 2 first-round draft picks in the event the player signs elsewhere. So if the player does leave, even though they have some negotiating rights, the team that had them will get 2 first-round draft picks. Transition tags are 1-year contracts as well. They pay out an average of the top 10 salaries at the player's position. Players who receive this tag can negotiate with other teams, but the tagging team also has the right to match the offer in this case. If the tagging team declines to match the offer, it does not receive any compensation. So a transition tag does not allow a team to get 2 first-round draft picks if they fail to match the offer, or if they just don't care if the player leaves and they let him go. Now, the tagged players this year so far, the Saints have tagged Marcus Williams, their safety. The Broncos have tagged safety Justin Simmons. The Panthers have tagged tackle Taylor Moton. The New York Jets have tagged free safety Marcus May. The Giants have tagged Leonard Williams, their D tackle. Washington football team, Brandon Sheriff, the offensive guard. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off their Super Bowl win, have tagged Chris Godwin, their wide receiver. The Jaguars have tagged Cam Robinson, their offensive tackle. And the Bears have tagged former Jaguar Allen Robinson, their wide receiver, who's been with them for the past few years. Mike, your thoughts on franchise tags? Do you like them or dislike them now that we have some background on them? And what do you think about the people that have been tagged so far?
I think it's a necessary evil. I think it's good and bad. I think sometimes it works out for the player. I think it worked out for Dak, and then sometimes it doesn't work out for the player. And one that may or may not happen this year. You spoke on Allen Robinson. They placed a franchise tag in him, but it'd be surprising if it would still be surprising to me if he took the field. I think they're going to try to work a trade for him. Trading him somewhere. But, he's 27. He's at the peak of his career. He had an outstanding career, over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. And that was without a quarterback. Yeah. If you think about it, who was throwing him the ball? It was a mess there. And the Chris Godwin situation, they had to tag Chris Godwin. You can't let a guy like that go. You just can't do it. And obviously, they can't break the bank. They got a lot of guys that played this past year on a discount coming good on the trust that Tom Brady would lead them to the promised land, and he did. But some of these guys are still going to get paid elsewhere. Some of these guys in the next couple of years are just, they're going to have to leave. You can't keep everybody. And that's what the franchise tag helps with. It helps that delicate balance between the haves and the have-nots. It gives some of those teams a little more leverage, and like I said, it's a necessary evil. But I think the ones that are most surprising, the most surprising tag I saw was Cam Robinson for the Jags. I don't think he's what they need. I don't think he's a good offensive lineman. He graded out in the bottom, the bottom percent of the offensive linemen last year. This is a guy who was a 2nd-round pick. He did start 16 games for the Jags last year, but to whose fault? You take a look at the situation. If the guy's out there and he's not doing the job, you got to make a business decision.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to know when to fish, and at some point, you got to know when to cut bait. Now, my thoughts on this is they're doing that as like a placeholder type situation. Maybe they're going to end up drafting a lineman, or they could probably draft a couple linemen at that. Usually in the first round, the past several years, they trade 6 or 7, somewhere between 5 and 7 linemen, offensive linemen going in the first round. So maybe they go in that direction.
Of course, it's a play off of T-Rex, which is the most.
Get one of those top tier talents, and Cam Robinson is just there as a placeholder until they get another warm body in there. That's what I would hope they're doing anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the franchise tag with Cam Robinson, to me, it is a swing and a miss. It doesn't make sense. So he's set to make over $14.5 million this year, and I don't see it. So, I like him. I like interviewing him. He came from Alabama. It's just, I guess, you don't have to use the tag. You know what I mean? And I don't know. For Jacksonville, this didn't make sense. So I wouldn't have tagged any of the offensive linemen, and I don't agree with it at all. It's nothing against Cam Robinson. Like I said, I respect him. I like him. I think he's good. I think he brings good depth. I hope he can stay healthy and, do well wherever he's on the line but this didn't make sense to me. The Chris Godwin one, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you want to lock him in and get a long-term deal for the guy. But for right now, take care of business, pay him, move forward. You got a quarterback who I mentioned does not, ask for top dollar because he wants to win championships. Not that these other guys don't want to win championships. I'm just saying, the way that Tom Brady does it allows you to have some wiggle room. So I'm not against it at all. And I like what one Florida team did, and I don't like what the other one did. So strange. Allen Robinson, yeah, he's talented. I liked him at Penn State. I liked him in Jacksonville. He's a talented guy. He does a lot of stuff. I would imagine he's going to get a 3 to 4 year deal somewhere else, is what I would anticipate. But of the franchise tags so far, I'm surprised most in Jacksonville. I'm least surprised in Tampa. I'm a little bit surprised in Chicago. And the rest is kind of out there. Mike, any final notes that you have in the fantasy world as Dak has now affected our fantasy as he shoots back up as one of the top quarterbacks to take in the draft now that we know he's going to be there for sure? And now that we know Godwin's going to be in Tampa, that affects things as well, and Allen Robinson in Chicago. Any other thoughts before we go?
Yeah, the two premium spots I'm going to be looking at and to see what's going to happen coming up here are wide receiver and edge rusher, because now that Godwin's tagged and now that Allen Robinson's tagged, and I know we speculated on a trade, but it might be time for some guys to get paid, like a Juju Smith-Schuster or Will Fuller. And you look at the edge rushers. Leonard Williams was probably, I think he was the only defensive lineman to be tagged. But you got guys like Shaq Barrett's probably going to re-up. They're probably going to rework a contract for him in Tampa. But Bud Dupree, Yannick Ngakoue, Carl Lawson, Matt Judon, Trey Hendrickson. Now, some of these guys are going to be worth the money and some of them aren't. But it's going to be interesting to me to see who comes to the table, which teams are going to go after. Oh, there's a Chris Carson, Kenny Golladay and Chris Carson. And Aaron Jones. How could I forget Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones, he might go to Miami is the thoughts. But, it was a bit of Hunter Henry still out there, John U. Smith. So there's still a lot to watch. There's still a lot to take in even before the draft here. March 17th, they're going to open up free agency. So it's going to be an interesting ride here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that affects what we already started talking about with free agency. That's why you got to watch every single week as Wake Up Call brings you these opportunities every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, gives Mike and I an opportunity to reach out to you, get your pen and pad ready, and make sure that you're prepared for these conversations. Mike and I talk about things in advance so that we continue to evolve with them. So we're not just having one conversation when everything's said and done. We're having conversations all the way through. We're following the moving pieces, and we're giving you advice on how decisions like Dak signing an extension, like these franchise tags for Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, and company, what they do to the rest of the league, what it does to your fantasy, what it does to their value. So every week has its place, and things are fluid and ever-changing. That's why you can't miss a week of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. You can, of course, go back and watch it on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT. You can watch it on our Fantasy Football tab on wakeupcalldt.com. And you can go and see it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Mike, final notes that I have to make here is the fact of what I said at the beginning, that I got a call yesterday that said, without me even having to say anything, I loved your show last week on the sleeper picks. It got me ready. It got me prepared. I feel like I have a leg up on the competition. And their dad also plays fantasy. They said, I called my dad and said, you got to listen to the show. This is giving me great advice. They're doing deep cuts. And I took out my pen and my pad, and I was jotting down information, preparing myself. So I want to shout out Jim for that message that I got yesterday that's here in our community of Central and Upstate New York that I think is just huge, Mike, and it's exactly why we do what we do.
Yeah, it's good to hear that feedback, and, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do all this work for my personal fantasy leagues and for my website anyway. I'm doing it anyway. I might as well share it with everybody, so I'm happy to do it, and I'm glad somebody's benefiting.
Coming from Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame fantasyfootball.com, our joint venture of Winning Fantasy Football, the group on Facebook. You can join today for free. So make sure that you do that. Mike, as always, I appreciate you. I look forward to talking with you next week. And I'm happy that Dak finally got paid. We finally got to talk about it. So my best to you, my best to Dak, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, sounds great, Dan. I look forward to it as well.
Take care. That coming from Mike Sofka here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We'll definitely continue the conversation next week and see what else comes about as we go. I want to thank all my guests today for being a part of the show as we under-promise, over-deliver, went over 2 hours again. Big shout-out inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' to our tourney talk time with Dale Shackelford, Roosevelt Bowie Jr., and Gene Waldron, all alumni of Syracuse's basketball program and forever part of the Brotherhood. And, of course, for the Fantasy Football Power Hour and Mike Sofka, as well as the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for being a part of the show. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you can watch and listen to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can get it on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. You'll have the opportunity to connect with us on our archives on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Podbean, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, like I said, by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, I want to thank all of our partners that help to make what we do so much sweeter here in the community. Make sure you support them any way you can. Every little bit helps. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Chick-fil-A, Cicero, Avicoli's. Go to myavicoli's.com and use the promo code AVS10. That's AVS10 on all online orders to get 10% off. Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, the Millhouse Market, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn. Go to maandpazpopcorn.com and use the promo code DT20 to get 20% off anywhere in the nation for delivery and for in-store pickup. If you order through maandpazpopcorn.com, you'll get 10% off by using my promo code DT20. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call_DT. I'll be airing my interviews from day one of the ACC tournament, and of course, so much more as we go forward. And we'll be live around noon Eastern time today to celebrate my co-host for Reese's Pieces, Tammy Reese, as she was just named the A10 Coach of the Year in her second season with Rhode Island Rams women's basketball team. So we'll be talking with her today at noon. And that'll be on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. Of course, I'll be covering Syracuse and the entire ACC tournament today and looking forward to it all. So plenty to have on our social media. If you're not on it, get on it now. And of course, as always, God bless, no stress. Do your best. We'll talk with you soon.